Alright, another day, make it stick. Welcome back. Now we're gonna jump into Anki. Jumping into Anki! Anki, everybody! Yes, we got 4 flashcards due. What are the 8 sections of Chapter 3 mix up your practice? Yo. Man. The takeaway is the last chapter. No, man. Would it be the myth of mass practice in there? Space practice, varied practice, interleaved practice, space practice, interleaved practice, varied practice. Take away the myth of mass practice. That's 5. The myth of mass practice, spaced, interleaved, varied. I don't know. Myth of mass practice, space practice, varied practice, interleaved practice, varied practice. There we go. So I got the first 4. Just developing discrimination skills, improving complex mastery for medical students. These principles are broadly applicable to takeaway. All right. What role does feedback play in retrieval practice? Feedback reinforces correct retrieval and also basically shows you your weaknesses or errors. Feedback helps correct errors and reinforce correct knowledge, especially when delayed after a retrieval attempt. Good enough, because I didn't really ask that. What are the 9 sections and 9 subsections of Chapter 4 embrace difficulties? Oh man, what was... How learning occurs, encoding, consolidation, retrieval, extended learning, updating retrieval cues, easier isn't better, how effort helps, reconsolidating memories, creating mental models, broadening mastery, fostering conceptual learning, what's up with this fucking pounding in my building, improving versatility, priming the mind for learning. We'll update this one on the card. Other learning strategies that incorporate desirable difficulties. That's what we're in right now. An example of generative learning, failure and the myth of errorless learning, undesirable difficulties to take away. Priming the mind for learning. Mixed up the order of 2 of them, but good enough. What is retrieval practice and why is this period of passive review? Retrieval practice is pulling things from long-term memory and pulling them into, reconstructing them into short-term memory. It's superior because it's two-faced, right? It basically shows you where your weaknesses are, where you need to improve, and 2, it also actually leads to reconsolidation, more consolidation, actually deeper learning, more retrieval cues and pathways. So just, better learning. It's retrieval, to learn, retrieve. Actively recalling information from memory, which strengthens neural pathways, improves long-term retention, unlike passive review, which creates illusions of knowing. Good enough. Passive review, that creates illusions of knowing. Actually, let's undo that. I'll say hard, because I didn't say the passive review creates illusions of knowing. That's a big point. I'll do it again. All right. So we started reading yesterday about. I think we read the subsection improving versatility. Finished how effort helps by finishing the subsection priming the mind for learning, and then began the section on other learning strategies that incorporate desirable difficulties. So improving versatility. Actually, I don't think I read that one yesterday, but maybe I did. Man, what would this one be about? Proving versatility. I thought it would be like the interleaving, where you're like creating more associations. Kind of like you're taking every time you do a retrieval practice in a new way, new time of day, new emotion, new previous thing you were just talking about or reading about, thinking about, these create more associations, more retrieval pathways, making it more versatile, making it more applicable to new, unique situations. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I'm going to keep going though. Priming the mind for learning. Basically, when we attempt to do something or learn something or perform something before we're actually taught how to do it, it actually makes the learning more sticky. And there's two basic ideas behind why this is the thing, according to at least this section, and that is, one, you're activating the retrieval pathway towards the area when you're kind of trying to work with it. You're getting close to the area, even though you might have a hole in it. So you're already activating the retrieval cue and pathway. And so now you just need to fill that hole that's leading to, and then you'll be good to go. So it's already doing a lot of the effort of learning, which is, half of it is the retrieval cues and pathways, and half of it's actually the neural structure. And you're doing the cues and pathways, and you're leading to the weak or non-existent structure, and then you just put the structure in. So that's why it leads to better learning than not activating the retrieval cue and pathway. The second idea is that actually this agitation, struggle, the frustration, and even curiosity that comes with trying to do something before you learn how to do it just primes the mind for deeper consolidation, deeper encoding, and deeper consolidation once you do learn it. So other retrieval or other learning strategies that incorporate desirable difficulties. So the first one's kind of just like these just generally interrupting fluency, or impediments, or basically these things that make it less fluent, such as blurrier text that leads to higher retention and understanding. So does missing letters from some of the words, and so does a professor teaching the course out of order from the textbook order. These things, they disrupt fluency, and given that they're not so extreme that, the message, the ideas are lost, such as too blurry to even read, excluding that, these disruptions to fluency actually lead to deeper conceptual understanding and retention. Lead to more cognitive effort is probably the reason why. And then the second big one that we covered yesterday was attempting to do something before learning how to do it, or being taught how to do it. I think that's basically it. Okay. This is where the two ideas come from. Like, idea one, you're activating the pathway. I guess this is very similar to priming the mind for learning. Then the two, it's priming it for better consolidation, retention. Right, doing, creating equals generation equals retrieval equals active learning. Disruptions to fluency. Cool. This is versatility. Basically the idea of transfer of learning. So interleaving, spacing, and varying practice leads to better transfer of learning. Transfer of learning is being able to apply what you've learned in new situations. spacing and interleaving varying more leads to more transfer learning than mass practice. Struggling to do or learn something makes subsequent learning stickier. All right, there we are. We're now back up to speed. I'm going to continue reading, and then I'll be back for recall in a bit. So we just completed the section on other learning strategies that incorporate desirable difficulties. This last part was basically reflection, and a form of reflection known as right to learn. Reflection is basically asking and answering questions in your own words about recent experiences and things you've learned. Questions like, what were the key points? What could I do better? What do I still not understand? What did I learn? What did I take away? Essentially, this whole video series is almost like a right to learn, but more about speak to learn instead of exactly writing. I think speaking is probably more effective because I can speak faster and make it more articulate than just words alone. I can have more nuance in the way I express ideas. Anyway, three aspects of reflection have been shown to improve learning empirically, and that is retrieval. Reflection is a form of retrieval. Elaboration, which is basically connecting what you just learned to things you already know, and then generation, which is creating things, writing new things, creating ideas, expressing these ideas through your own creation. I think generation and retrieval are very similar, but generation is like retrieval that is about creation more than just pulling things out of memory. Yeah, I guess generation is kind of like using retrieval as like the starting point and then creating more things. That's interesting. They're very similar. All three of those things are similar, but slightly different. There's nuance. Retrieval is like the act of pulling things out of memory. Generation is the act of like creating new things, which you're going to use some aspects of memory when doing, or maybe all aspects of memory, but you're making new things. And elaboration is more about the idea just of not even necessarily, it's connecting ideas to things you already know, expanding upon them. So they're all very intimately connected. Anyway, reflection, right? Then we kind of talk about right to learn, this teaching strategy that is basically reflection via writing in order to you learn as a study technique in the classroom. So right to learn. It's reflection. When they basically had a study where after key points, students were told to write about it in their own words, or connect it to things they already know, give examples in their own words. And on other key points, they were just given a summary slide and told to take notes on it. When tested on this, there were significant differences, not like significant in the term of science, not like, it's like night and day, but pretty good. It was like half a letter grade difference between those that were written to learn and key concepts that were just given on slides and told to take notes on. So half a letter grade, it's pretty good. Over a long term to measure retention, the difference dropped a little bit, but it apparently was still robust, still a significant difference. So yeah, I think that's basically everything from that section that I just read. Cool. So we'll write, what is this section about? Other learning strategies that incorporate desirable difficulties. So we'll write basically, and this section was about disruptions to fluency, attempting to do before being taught, and then 3, reflection. All right, that's it. We've got 3 minutes, 33 seconds left, so Next section is failure and the myth of errorless learning. What is this section about? It's great to be into new charted territory, so don't have just writing everywhere. Like, this is all fresh writing. I'm going to go ahead and read. Let's try to do 2 paragraphs. Well, it depends on how thick this stuff is, but I'll be back in a second. Went off, only got through 1 paragraph, and that's because there was a ton in that first paragraph. Basically, errorless learning came out from, or popularized by B.F. Skinner in the 50s and 60s. Thought that errors were just like pedagogical, like a teaching error, or a lack of good teaching, failure of the teacher instruction. So they basically came up with like this way of making errorless learning where you basically get spoon-fed information, tiny amount of information, and then quizzed immediately after, and in order to like have no chance of making a mistake. We now, no, that's not that good. But this sounds like, hold on though. Yeah, in our Western culture, and maybe cultures in general, I don't know if it's just Western, but like failure is seen as something to avoid and hide. Goes into like Carol Dweck's research into a mindset. Yeah, I think teachers have this false understanding as well that errors, if people make errors, that's what they're going to remember. It sounds a lot like musical instruction and pedagogy where they're like, practice it so slowly you never make any mistakes. Like errorless, you don't want to make any mistakes. That's just not true according to what we know about empirical science. We need these errors in order to have brain change. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's everything I got in that first paragraph. We are now deep into this. We've got 10 pages left. 10 pages left of chapter 4. So that's pretty cool. Every day we make more progress. Somehow we only get through like 2 pages a day, but hey, somehow we're on page 91 doing that, or 90, so all right, I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.